All right. How are you guys doing? And welcome to yet another broadcast. This one, totally from a business perspective. This one is not going to be long like the ones I usually do. This is simply to share some counsel, to share some insight into the tracking business, which I am a part of now. I am a teacher by nature. I like to help where I can. I like to share what I have learned. And so I welcome you, especially if you are looking to get into tracking, more specifically, box tracking. That's what I kind of specialize in, but I do dabble a little bit in semi tracking. And so I will just give a few insights. This is probably going to be like maybe a 10-minute, maybe not anymore broadcast. Now, if what I share here helps you, if you think it can help somebody else, do two things or one of two things. Number one, please hit that share button, depending on whatever platform you're on: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Share with your social media so that others may learn. There's somebody out there maybe that needs to or has been wanting to get in the business. They don't know how to do it, and they can't get somebody just to give them honest answers. So share. Secondly, if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing one at least a month on the business side. I do broadcasts on preaching. I'm a pastor in my other life, so I do those many times. But if you want to get into the business of trucking, the business of transportation, particularly with box trucks and even with semi trucks. And I'm sure that even the insights that I'm going to give you here are going to be useful for those people who do it with cargo vans, sprinter vans, and so on and so forth. Now, my name is Steve Magua. My name is Steve Magua. Uh, I am a pastor by by training and by career, but I am also a businessman, and so I do both as I am enabled to. And in the last couple months, I've done more of the business than the preaching, but I do both as I go along. So I want to give you insights. You want to get into logistics. I've been in the logistics business um, since around 2008, around 2008. So I've been there a long time. I've done courier business. I've done all kinds of deliveries, different things. I've been working in logistics for the last, um, oh man, for the last long time. Let me just put it that way. But lately, I have specialized in tracking with a special focus on box trucks. But I also have a section of my business that focuses on semi trucks. So, if you want to get into the business, what is it that you need? What is it that you need? Number one. So I'm just going to give you certain things that you really need if you're going to get into this business and hopefully do well. Number one thing that you need is a vision. You need a vision. You need to have a passion and a desire for this business. Let me tell you why. Number one, if you don't have a vision and a passion for what you do, it doesn't matter how good it is. Doesn't matter how good. It doesn't matter if you are selling diamonds or gold. It doesn't matter if you're mining it. It doesn't matter if it's cryptocurrency. If you don't have a clear vision of what you want to do, if you don't have a clear idea of the goals that you want to accomplish, and if you don't have a passion for what you want to do, I can guarantee you you're going to fail. It's not going to work for you. So first thing is sit down, maybe with a piece of paper, notebook, and ask yourself, why do I want to do this? Do I have a vision? Where does this vision come from? Okay, I'm a Christian, so obviously I believe in God. I believe that God directs people which direction to go in life. And so for me, and I believe for everybody, but for me, I passionately believe that God has to lead you into something. But you may not be a Christian. This is not a gospel session. So you may not be a Christian, but you still want to get into the business. You need to have a vision. You need to find out the source of your vision. Is it because you heard other people say it's good? Is it because you've been desiring to do it? Is it why do you want to do it? Because uh, when chips are down, when life is tough, when business is going bad, it is your vision that will keep you going. It is your passion that will keep you going, and you will need it. Believe me, been there, done that. Got a couple t-shirts. They are torn, so that's why I'm not wearing them this afternoon. So, and it doesn't matter which country you're in. Maybe you're watching me from Kenya, from Europe, whatever. You want to get into the transportation business, any business for whatever. So the first things are going to be general. You need to have a vision. You need to have some goals. You need to have a clear idea of why you want to do what you're doing, and you need to be motivated to do it, because in business, as it is in life, there will be good times, there will be tough times, there will be impossible times. You will meet circumstances that you've not anticipated. But if you have a vision, if you have a passion, you will get over those humps and you will do well. So have a vision, have a goal. If possible, write it down, uh, make it clear. Okay, next thing that you will need if you are to get into the tracking business is that you need to do some research. You need to do some research. And I know that this is part of it. Before you go and buy your truck, before you go and register your business, and we'll talk about that, before you do any of that stuff, do your background research. Take time. We live at a time unprecedented in the world where this is beyond information age. This is just beyond information age. Everything is available, and for the most part, it is free of charge. Okay, so my advice to you is, unless you really have to, don't get into relationships where you have to pay somebody to show you this or to show you that. All of the information that you need is freely available on YouTube. It is freely available on Google. It is freely available on every form of social media. So before you pay somebody, and again, I'm not knocking those people who mentor people, and you might be the kind of person that needs to be personally mentored and taken through steps. That's fine. But if you are the kind of person that can actually learn if something is presented clearly, my advice to you is go ahead and do the research. Get on YouTube. Just even type, how do I get into box trucks? How do I get in semi trucks? How do I register how do I get a DOT number, an MC number? A buku abundance of videos free of charge. And let me tell you why they are free. Many people, they make money by monetizing their videos. That's not what I'm doing myself. I'm not even on that level. But what they do is that they offer free videos. The more you watch them, the more people subscribe to them. Then YouTube pays them for advertising while they're playing their videos. So that's why they'll offer free, good information so that many people can watch them. So the advice is free. You'll be given up-to-date information. When I started to get into tracking, I did my research. I went and watched videos. I watched videos all day long, all evening long. Before I went to buy my first truck, I had good information. I knew what I was getting into. I knew the lingo. I was well educated, and it was free of charge. I didn't pay anybody to do it. And I'm not saying you can't, but my advice is, unless you have a lot of money just lying around that you want to spend, you go ahead and do that. But anyway, go on YouTube, type in the topic that you want to find out. Okay, let's say, for instance, you want to find out how do I get a DOT number if you're in the US. So if whatever country you are in is probably going to have some regulations, it's going to have some laws. You need to learn the law that governs the industry that you want to get into, particularly in the transportation industry. If you're in the US, it's very highly regulated. You will need to know about it beforehand. You will need to know about the costs involved beforehand, right? Because you're making an investment. You don't want to make an investment and then halfway in, you realize this is way too much for me and you've already lost your money. And this business takes a lot of money to get into. Okay. So now you've watched your videos. You are sure that's what you want to do. So then again, as you are watching those videos, it will even help you form that vision that I'm talking about. Let's say you don't have a clarity. Watch those videos. Find out how people in the semi trucking, the big 18 wheelers, what goes on in there. Trailers and power only. As you watch more and more stuff, you will get used to the language they're speaking about. Where do they get their loads? Where are the loads going? How do they make a profit, and so on and so forth. Box trucks. How do I get into them? What are the regulations that govern box trucks? If you want to get into courier business, sprinters, cargo vans, whatever, find out. Just take the time. Just take the time in your free time. Let's say you are working a 9 to 5 job. Uh, don't quit yet. Don't quit yet. Yes, it is wonderful to be self-employed, and it is very profitable if you do it right. But be very intentional and plan your way out. So, in other words, take your time in the evenings, take your time on the weekends, watch videos, prepare yourself, get a folder together. I was watching. I don't know if you guys watch movies, but I was watching that movie King Richard. About Serena and Venus Williams' father, Richard Williams. He had this whole folder that he had compiled about how he was going to make his children successful. You may not do all that, but at least have some general structure of what you're going to do. Okay. Now, this is what you will need. You will need, because I said this was going to be short. This is what you'll need, and these are fast things fast. Once you decide you're going to get into the business and you're going to do it and you're committed to it and you're passionate about it, before you buy your truck, before you get your DOT, before you get any of that stuff, uh, register yourself a business. It's free of charge for the most part in most states. In other words, it's free of charge to start the process, but you may have to pay your state a small fee to get a business license and all that. So register your business. Uh, Decide what name you're going to call your company. And once you decide what name you're going to call your company, because that's where you want to start, decide what name you're going to call your company, then you can go and register with the IRS. So I'm going to kind of focus on people who are in the US because that's the information that I have. So you're in the US, you go to irs.org, not irs.com, not irs.net, irs.gov. All government websites usually have a gov in them, .gov, even state websites, so that you're not redirected to other places. So go to irs.gov, register your business. Decide. You need to learn whether you're doing it as a sole proprietor, you're doing it as a partnership, as a limited liability company, are you doing it as a corporation, and all that. So, and those are videos you can watch. What is the difference between all these forms of business? Generally, if you just have to say, well, just direct me one way. An LLC is probably what you want, a limited liability company, because a limited liability company, even by the name, means that there is limited liability to you if something should happen down the road, an accident, business loss, whatever. The business is its own entity. It does not come and touch you personally. So a limited liability company is probably where you want to be, depending on how many people you are, or if you're by yourself. If you're by yourself, generally, I would advise you to do a limited liability company. So get your business registered with the federal government. Get your employer identification number. That's the social security number, kind of. It's not a social security number, but it is the other side of that. In other words, in the US, you are identified by your social security number. Businesses are identified by their employer identification numbers. Okay, so get that once you register your business, and so on and so forth. Once you have that, then now you go to the website for your state. Again, these things you don't need to go through some company or somebody who will charge you a fee. You go, let's say for instance, you live in Nevada. Go to nevadastate.gov or search for it, Nevada state government. They will have a website. Every state has a website. Okay. Then go to the business side or the business part. Type in the search bar there in that state, how do I start a business? You can also search on YouTube, on Google, how do I start a business in Nevada? How do I start a business in Arizona? How do I start a business in Maine? Whatever the case may be. On the state website, they will direct you where to go, how to register your business, how to get a business license in that state. Many states, it will be like 20, 30, no more than $100. The process will be that they'll have a process in which you will make sure that the name you have chosen is not taken by anybody else. And so you can even decide to start at the state level, then go to the federal level, whichever one you want to use. But once you choose your name, they'll check for you if that name has been taken by anybody else. If not, then they'll direct you how to register that business and get a business license. What form of business? If you're getting into tracking, you will tell them right there, I'm doing tracking. You will get articles of association, articles of organization. They will be required. They are part of the registration of a business within a state. And each state has a different looking process, but they are kind of generally the same. So once you get those two, and you go through the whole process, and the state gives you a business license, which is something you print and you put in a frame and you put on a wall, and that you use for business purposes, and the articles of organization. Then now you have your federal registration, you have your state registration together. You take those two things. Now remember, you have not yet bought a truck. You are not yet you have not yet done anything else. These are the first steps. You go to your bank. I would advise you now, based on the experience that I've had, it is good to open a credit union account, and you should. A small local bank, support them. But also, if you can, open at least two accounts. Open one local, probably credit union account that will help you very much with your credit and local supporting local business. But also open a national bank, like a Bank of America or PNC Bank or Wells Fargo, something like that. Because what you'll discover later on, that most of us discover the hard way, is you are working with different vendors, you are working with different drivers. Your driver is somewhere in Arizona. You need to pay them today because they need their money today. But you are working with a small local bank that takes 5 days to do a wire transfer. Your driver needs money somewhere, otherwise everything is going to fall apart. That's where the big banks help you, the national banks, something that's going to help you across the board, Capital One, whatever. So that's why you want to do that. So open a bank account. When you go to open a business bank account, they will require you to have a business license. They will require you to have an employer identification number. So that's why you do those first. Okay. Now, while you are doing that, these are things that some of them I didn't do like that, and so I suffered the consequences of not doing them like that. While you are doing all that, get yourself either a second phone or a second line, a business line, phone number that is not the same as your regular phone number that you use for your family, your friends, your children, and so on and so forth. Get another line. You can get just a Google Voice number, whatever, but get another line so that when you're registering everything goes under this new number that is only associated with your business. So that when people begin, and you, especially in tracking, you will receive 1,000 calls a day, and I'm not kidding you, especially at first. They will call you day and night, leave all kinds of messages. I didn't do that, so I suffered the consequences. You want your phone number to be separate from your business number, to be separate from your personal number. Okay. So now you have your bank account, you have your EIN, employee identification number from the federal government, you have your business license from your state. Now, that's when now you go to the federal, what is it called? Federal Motor Carrier something, FMCSA. Those are the whatever. Let me see if I can type that in capital letters here, so it might help you. FM. Let me see. FMCSA. And again, this is .gov. So this is something that you'll have to do. Again, you don't have to have someone do this for you. Okay, FMCSA is the authority that governs tracking in America, in the United States anyway. If you're in Canada, there's probably a different department, whatever. This is United States of America. You go to that website. Okay, if it confuses you when you get to that website, there are videos. I wish I had links, but I didn't prepare that. But I think if you're going to get into this business, you're going to do your legwork. There are videos that teach you how to fill in all the forms they need, free of charge. Don't pay people to do this stuff. If you're going to be paying for people to do this stuff for you, that already tells you that you're going to pay people for things that you don't need to pay for. And in the future, you're going to be paying tens of thousands. So teach yourself to do things for yourself, the things that you can do. There are certain things you cannot do for yourself, but the things that you can do for yourself, do them for yourself. It will save you a lot of money, and it will teach you a lot of things so that nobody will ever take advantage of you. Go to FMCSA and apply for authority. Okay, so remember, so you don't start with authority, you start with getting a business license, getting yourself registered with the federal government, opening a bank account, getting yourself a phone number. You already got your name, I'm assuming you already got those things. Then now you go in and you now apply for authority. Okay. Now at this point you might be asking, but sir, when do I get my truck? Now I understand that you may already have a truck and now you want to get your truck into the trucking business. That's fine. But if you don't have a truck yet, don't rush into that yet. Don't rush into that yet. I'm going to speak about that in a moment. So, anyway, get the authority first. Because without authority, you're not going to be able to operate your truck on the roads. You're not going to be able to get loads. You're not going to be able to do the business. So, get the authority first. The authority is more or less like the business license, it's more or less like the federal registration, right? If I want to open up a school, I don't first of all go and get students and teachers. I first of all go and register the school, then get the building, then now go about. Now I may have an idea that I will get. So in other words, you can be multitasking. You can be looking for a truck as you do these processes because they will take time. They're not instantaneous, but many of them can be done online. Okay. So anyway, now you apply for authority. Now, authority has two sections in it. You have what is called the interstate authority, and you have what is called the DOT. The DOT gives you the authority just to drive on U.S. roads wherever they are. Everybody needs a U.S. DOT number. The moment you apply for it, they will assign you a U.S. DOT number, and I'm sure you've seen it on the side of trucks, U.S. DOT number. Now, the next one is the MC number. The MC number is what gives you the authority to travel and to transport goods across state lines. Okay, so in other words, you have to decide, are you going to be transporting things just within your state or across state lines? Generally, you want to get authority to go across state lines, even if you intend only to work within your jurisdiction. Why? Because certain times you'll get a very good load that is just going across the border. Like where I live, I'm like 10 miles away from Illinois. I live on the St. Louis side. If I needed to transport something from my side of the state to that side of the state, I need an MC number. Okay. So you're applying for that, and you'll get a video on YouTube that will walk you through the steps of filling in that thing correctly. So I would advise you to watch a video on how to fill in the FMCSA application correctly. Okay. So once you fill in the, generally it will cost you $300 to apply for authority, the US DOT number and the MC. That's what it's going to cost you on the FMCSA website. You pay them directly. You don't use an agent. You don't use anybody else. You do that directly with them. Okay. Now, the moment that you apply for your DOT number and your MC number, it is going to take about 21 days from the day that you apply and pay to the day that you actually get authority to actually operate. So between the first day that you apply for the authority, you are not allowed legally to transport goods under your own name until the 21st day. Now, the DOT number you're given immediately, you apply. The MC number, even though it is assigned to you, is not active and is not legal until the 21st day. And your MC number will not become active until a commercial insurance company fills in a form that they do with the government to indicate that you have already obtained commercial insurance in accordance with the law that governs tracking in America, which the minimum coverage is $750,000. So, uh, so therefore, the next logical step, not the next practical step, the next logical step would then be to obtain an insurance. But don't do that. Don't do that. Uh, it takes 5 days from the time that the insurance company reports that you have obtained insurance for you to get the authority. So usually you want to apply for insurance for your company to run trucks about 8 days before the authority was to come live. This is what I mean. So let's just use real dates. Let's say you applied for authority on the first day of December. Your authority will not come active until the 21st day of December. However, you want to apply for your insurance, with whichever insurance company you're going to be using for your tracking, on, for instance, the 12th to the 13th day of December. So from day 1 to day 13, don't apply for insurance. This is the reason why. The moment you apply for insurance is the moment you pay for insurance. That's the way insurance companies work. If I apply to insure my car today, they want my deposit today for this first month. Now, tracking insurance is extremely expensive, especially for beginners. If you're a new driver, a new company, you are going to pay a lot of money. That's just a given. So, which means that generally, just so that you can have an idea of what kind of money you'll be expected, generally, you'll be expected to put down up to 3,000, sometimes 2,000, sometimes even up to $4,000 as a deposit for your annual insurance. That is apart from what you'll be paying on a monthly basis. Okay, so in other words, on day 1, they will expect you to put down $3,000 if let's say you're going with Progressive Insurance or you're going with whatever insurance. So do you see that that's $3,000 or $4,000 that is sitting somewhere in an insurance company for a truck that you may not even have, for an authority that you cannot use for 21 days. That's why we recommend, and it's recommended, and I did it and it worked. In fact, I applied for my insurance 6 days before the deadline of my authority, so that the first 15 days or so, I was not paying any insurance. Okay, so I kept my money in my pocket. I don't want the insurance company keeping my money for me. I need to keep my money in my own pocket. So you're going to pay upwards of 3,000, 4,000. If you are very, very fortunate, it might be somewhere in the range of 2,000, but that's very rare. That's very rare, because what they do is that they take a portion of all that you'll be paying all year long, and they make you pay a big bunch of it, 2 months worth, so that you're only left with like 10 months worth of insurance to pay. So therefore, don't pay your insurance on day 1, even if you have a truck. Wait at least until the safest time is when you are remaining with about 7 days, 8 days. If you are very adventurous like I was, 6 days. Okay. All right. Now you have applied for your authority. That's coming in that's in the pipeline. You already have your business account. You already have your business license. You already have your federal registration done. You have an employer identification number. Now, there are certain other things that you need to do. One of them is called BOC3, BOC3. Okay. Again, if you find and later on, I will actually find the video that I used, because there was a video. There's this one guy that went through every one of these things, and he showed you the form and he showed you the link free of charge. I'll put a link to it on this video later. So bear with me that I don't have that link right now. But you'll need a BOC3. That is part of the registration process. That is like a process agent. You will need something called a UCR registration. UCR registration. That is also required. So BOC3, UCR, you will need. Okay. So those ones you're also doing directly with the companies that do it. Don't have somebody take you through the ringer, making you pay $100, $100. No, my BOC3 I only paid $25, and it is legal. UCR you pay directly to the department that does UCR. Again, it's like $25, so it was not much. So you have you now you have your so now um you now want to look for your truck at this point, or you have been looking for the truck, you have identified the truck. Are you doing a semi truck? Are you doing a box truck? That's when now you get your truck. Okay. Now, if let's say for instance, in the process of time you have not found a truck, and you know you cannot get your authority until you have insurance on a truck, one of the things that you can do is that when the date comes, when you have decided this is when I'm actually going to apply for insurance, you can call the commercial insurance company and you can have them insure one of your personal vehicles, like your van, because you are allowed in this business to use whatever vehicle you want to use for your trucking business. So if you have not yet obtained your truck yet, on the 10th or 12th or 13th day when you're going to put insurance on it, take your minivan or truck that you have at home, insure it. Call Progressive, tell them I want to insure this, but I'm doing it for my trucking business. For I want to get authority. So they will insure it as if it was a truck. They will put $750,000 minimum insurance on that vehicle. They'll give you $100,000 worth of cargo insurance. And so it's going to be expensive, more than your personal insurance. But what that will do is that once they have that policy going, they will immediately report to the FMCSA that you have complied with the requirements for the amount of insurance you're supposed to have for a trucking company. And that will trigger the FMCSA to now go ahead and process your authority to give you the legal ability to operate a trucking business. You need that. So, as you can see, you really don't need to have the truck when you begin this business. You can do this with your own vehicle. Okay, so now, so you have all those things going together. I hope you're taking notes, and if not, that's also fine. I'm just giving you the pointers. I'm sure you'll do better research. So now you have the book 3, you have the UCR, you have your insurance on the hopefully on the 14th or 15th day before the 21st day comes. So count those days. Please, if you need to go back and go over what I'm saying, please go back or go listen to somebody else. They'll tell you why you don't want to pay your insurance upfront. But if you have a lot of money just lying around, you have a couple $100,000, go ahead, do it. It won't hurt you, you know. But for most of us, every dollar counts. Okay. So now, have your paperwork in line. You have your insurance in line. Now you obtain your truck. If you already had identified a truck you're going to buy, whether it's from a person or from a company like Ryder or whatever, that's when now you go and buy your truck. Okay. Once you buy your truck, uh, you put your insurance on it, and that will go the same way as if you had put it on your personal vehicle. Now, let's now go forward to where now you have authority. Now you have authority. It's the 21st day has come. You had insurance on your truck. You have done the BOC 3. You have done the UCR. You have done your applications. You have your business account. So you're ready to do business. You're ready now to start transporting loads and so on and so forth. Now, you need, before you start running, if you're going to be an owner operator, you will need for box trucks, you will need to have medical a medical card, a DOT medical card, which means that you have to make an appointment, like with one of these little clinics that do like emergency, or or even you have to look up on the website. Have to look up in your area medical professionals who are authorized to do what is it called, a medical inspection for you, so that they can give you a DOT medical card. Sometimes the legal jargon, I may not have it right in my fingertips, but anyway, you need a medical card, and it is only done by certain places. So you need to look up in your area who is authorized to do the medical examination. So you go in for the medical examination. If you're going to be the operator yourself, if you are going to employ a driver, they need that medical card. So they will go in. It's a one-day thing. They check. It's a physical. It's a DOT physical. That's what it's called. There it comes. It's a DOT physical. You do a DOT physical. Your driver needs it, and if you're going to be the driver, you need it. Okay. Now, all these things that you are doing, every time you do something, you get a copy of it and you put it in a folder. right? You know those sleeves that are clear. So you have a folder. This is your folder for your vehicle. This is a folder for your business. It has your business license. It has your insurance. It has your box three. It has your UCR. So you are keeping a record of all these things that you're doing along the way, because this folder travels with your vehicle when it's on the road. When the DOT stops you, and you will be stopped one way or the other, either randomly or because you did something wrong, hopefully not, they will want to see every single one of these things. They will want to see the evidence of your insurance. They want to see that you are authorized. So your DOT and your MC authorization needs to be in that folder. They send you, once you are authorized, once you have authority, they send you a letter. You put it in there. You keep a copy in your office. Okay. So now you have your truck, you have all your paperwork going ready. You've been compiling all your paperwork. You keep it in a folder. You have your DOT medical card, and presumably you buy a truck. Hopefully you are a good shopper. You shop around, you research. I will give you just a. I'll go and ask the guys because I don't have one here. Sorry about that. Go ahead, ask the guys. So now, so you have all that stuff put together, and now you want to run your business. You want to start getting loads and so on and so forth. Now let's talk about getting the truck. This is just general information, and I'm sure that different people have different perspectives. But I can tell you this: just like with any other business, there are certain uh, things that are rated higher than others or better than others. In the trucking business, Cummins engine is the one that everybody looks to. Doesn't mean that it's the only one, but a Cummins engine is what you really want, and an Allison transmission is what you really want. That doesn't mean that there are not people with a cat engine, or some other people, Max Force or whatever, but they're the Mercedes, they're the Toyota of the business. So when you're shopping for your truck, one of the things that I would advise you to do is insist it has to have a Cummins engine. It needs to have an Allison transmission. They're just the best. Okay. Then of course you need to decide if you are doing box trucks, are you going to be doing under CDL? Don't need a CDL, is under 26,000. Are you going to do a 26-foot? If you want to do Amazon, you need to have at least a 24-foot. If you're going to do Amazon, you need to have at least a 24-foot. It is best to have a 26-foot if you're going to do a box truck business. The reason being, even though you might not need the whole 26, if you get a 26-foot truck, you are able to put a sleeper in it in the first 2 feet of the truck, and you're left with 24 feet that will fit what Amazon needs and what most box truck brokers need. So they will say 26, but in reality, what you need is 24. Okay, so that's what you need. And now, of course, you can do cargo vans, printer vans, 20-foot, 18-foot, reefer vans, reefer trucks, whatever. That one you just kind of have to do your research, decide which area of the industry you want to get into. Personally, I specialize more in that 26-foot non-CDL arena. Okay, I also do a little bit of semi-truck, and I'll kind of just give you just very general pointers on that one. Semi trucks, 18 wheelers, are probably the most lucrative way to do trucking, probably the most profitable. However, just as it should be obvious, it is also the most demanding in terms of investment, right? You get what you pay for. So if you want to get into semi trucks, you will need more money, you will need more investment, and everything is bigger with semi trucks. The trailer is bigger, the engine is bigger, everything is bigger with semi trucks. You will pay more, right? Most of the time when you're buying a semi truck, the bobtail, which is just the front part, is bought usually, not all the time, usually it is separate from the trailer. Those two things are separate. Now you might find a used one, somebody selling the whole unit together. If you find a good one, wonderful, great. But for the most part, if you're going to buy, let's say from a dealership, and you're going to finance it, they're going to sell you the bobtail, which is the front part. And then you're going to have to figure out, am I also going to buy a trailer? Am I going to lease one? Am I going to rent one? Where am I going to get a trailer? Am I going to be doing that business on that side? So it's more investment, but it's also once you have it and everything is running, it's more lucrative, it's more profitable. Okay. Now, the reason why I decided to concentrate on box truck, two reasons why you might decide I want to do box truck instead of semi truck, whereas you're already telling me that semi trucks are probably more profitable. This is the reason. You may be wanting to be an owner operator, but you don't have a CDL, and you are not willing or able to get into the CDL business immediately. If that is the case, then for you it might be better to start with a box truck. Okay. My advice would be, if you're going to get in the business, do it yourself first. Even if you intend to employ drivers or to get into a partnership with drivers, do it yourself first. Go on the road, learn what happens there, learn the challenges of the road, so that when you have somebody out there, because I've sat with so many people, and they're like, oh, these drivers, they are stealing from me, they are lying to me, and I don't know what's going on. They tell me this happened, that happened. And I look at them and I say, have you been out there yourself? Do you know that for a fact? No, but there's no way somebody can use that much money or that much gas. That sounds weird. Yeah, but if you had been out there and you knew what it is to be somewhere in the middle of the wilderness and to get a flat tire, or whatever happens, and there's many things that happen to you out there, you're like, oh my God, am I going to get out of this? Things do happen out there. I'm not trying to scare you, but things do happen out there that you're like, man, this is crazy. Okay. If you've experienced it, if you've had all this, you go to pick up a load and they won't give you the load, or you get stopped by the DOT and you are shut down for 10 hours and so many things, at least go in for 2-3 months, run the thing yourself, learn what happens. Then when you go back to your office and you are dispatching drivers or they're telling you this, number one, you sympathize with what they are going through. Number two, you understand what they're going through. Number three, it's your business. You need to know what's going on with your business. Now, you may say, well, I'm a woman. So what? I've been on these roads and I've met some, or at least not necessarily personally meeting, but I've seen some sisters that can swing that semi-trailer like I can't even drive. They are out there, they are doing it. So stop with that whole thing. This is it's not a man's business. Driving is driving. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you're going to do business, any business, get your hands dirty, get into it yourself, do it, even if you intend to employ others. That's the best way to do business, in my view. Now, I intended this to only be, I intended this to only be like 10 minutes, but it's not. It's not 10 minutes. It's been 45 minutes, right? But anyway, hopefully this will help somebody. Okay, so now let me finish here. So box trucks, I chose box trucks because I can do it myself, and it's easy. It's an easier entry. I can get a box truck driver trained within a couple days, right? If they already know how to drive, they already have a license. There's nothing else that's needed. They just need a medical card, and I train them, and they're good to go. Okay, so it's easier to get into. And if you get somebody, you yourself presumably, or a good driver who is willing to push it to the limit, you will make almost as much money as a semi truck can make, in if you know how to do your business. Okay, so now let me come to the money part. This is where I'm going to finish at. So how do you get your money going? Now, you have your authority, you have your truck, whether it's a semi truck, whether it's a box truck. Now, how do you get your money? You get your money on the load boards. The load boards are your farm. The load boards are the place where you go to harvest. That's your harvesting ground. So you will need to get some load boards. Okay, if you're in the semi truck business, the DAT board is more than sufficient. The DAT board is more than sufficient if you're in the semi-trucking business. If you're in the box truck business, you will need more than the DAT board. I will recommend 3 ways to make money in box trucks. Just because it's easier to do it with the semi-trucks, because semi-trucks is a industry standard, but most people are not able to get into the semi-truck business because of many things. The cost of getting in, the CDL, and so on and so forth. So you get into the box truck business while you are waiting for your insurance. So this is kind of something that you put back in the notes. Uh, the DAT board gives you like a 30-day trial where you can go on the board, and for 30 days you can just try it out. You're not paying anything. I recommend you get the DAT board on the 30-day trial close to when your authority comes live. Because again, you don't want to be having a board that you cannot use in any way. So as soon or just before you get your authority live, get your DAT board, familiarize yourself with it, look at the boards on there, start calling the brokers on the DAT board. And if you go through the tutorial for the DAT, and when you sign up, they give you a tutorial. They'll show you how to call for loads. Look at loads that correspond to the type of equipment you have. Call them. Say, I wanna cover this load for you. Generally, you need to kind of have this idea. The goal is to get at least $3 a mile, even in box truck. That's the goal. If you can get $4, hallelujah. Okay, a mile. So in other words, just to kind of give you an idea, if you are going for 300 miles and you are being paid $3 a mile, that's $900. Okay, in the same 300 miles, if you get $4 a mile, you're getting paid $1,200. Okay, sometimes in certain circumstances, you'll be paid even up to $6, $7 a mile. Okay, so the goal is to get $3 a mile. My advice is, unless push comes to absolutely shove, never take less than $2 a mile. And don't even make that your norm. Okay? It's going to be hard at first, but if you set that as a standard, you say my goal is $3. If times are bad, I'll go down to $2.50 a mile. If I have to really go home, if I just have to move it, I'll take $2 and no less. Many things will pass you by, but you will make a profit, because there are people getting into the business right now that I hope are watching. You're taking $1 a mile, you're taking $1.30 a mile, you're taking $1.60 a mile. And at first it seems, because you're going 1,000 miles and you're being paid $1.50 a mile, is $1,500 is a lot of money. You didn't account for your diesel, you didn't account for your service, you didn't account for your time. You made a loss. And a lot of people are running for 3-4 months and they're out of it. They cannot, when the first repair bill comes and your truck will break down, they're out of business because they didn't charge enough, a fair amount to where they could have made a profit. So if you're gonna get in the business, have a goal. Even if it's a semi truck, have a goal of $3 a mile as your poverty line. Have a dream, a vision of running loads that are running at $4, $5 a mile. If you can get it, awesome. If you can't, but don't go below $2 a mile. You will not make a profit that way. Okay. Now, so now you have the DAT board. That's the first board that you should get because it's free. Secondly, if you're going to get it, especially in the box truck business, and even if you're going to buy a bobtail for semi-trucking, please get yourself an Amazon Relay account. As soon as you have your authority, or before you have your authority, apply for Amazon Relay. Doesn't matter what you're running, apply for Amazon Relay. Now, however, here is the catch with Amazon. If you're going to run Amazon loads, you're going to have very high rates, very high coverage of insurance. So in other words, whereas the government requires you have at least 750,000, Amazon requires you to have 1 million, 100,000. Once you get into the insurance and you're talking with an insurance agent, they'll tell you what that means. So in other words, Amazon requires to have the top level of insurance coverage that you can have in trucking at $1 million. But here is the reason why you want to get Amazon. First of all, when you have an Amazon Relay account and you get approved, and now you can run Amazon loads, whether you are a semi-truck or whether you're a box truck, or whether you're even, well, I don't know if they run anything else. I think with the other vents, it's just a different type of business. But in this trucking, when you have an Amazon account, you are not depending on brokers. You're not having to call somebody to get a load for you. You are running the loads directly. Amazon is paying you directly. Secondly, you are able to run local loads being given by Amazon, whether it's a semi truck, whether it's a box truck, you're able to do that directly and they pay you directly, no middlemen. So get yourself an Amazon account. No matter what you hear from other people, get yourself an Amazon account. It doesn't have to be your primary uh, hunting ground, harvesting ground, but get yourself an. So now you have a DAT load board. You also have an Amazon load board, because once you get an Amazon account, they give you their load board so that you can be seeing what it is that they are offering every day, every night. They run all the time. Amazon will save you so many times in so many ways that I can't even describe, and they'll pay you good money. I've made some good money from Amazon. Now, so you have DAT board, you have an Amazon board. Then, if you're in box truck business, you want to get yourself the Selectus load board. Selectus load board. I wish I had taken that advice myself for myself, but if you are hearing this for the first time, you're getting the business, do it. Do it as soon as you get in the business. Now, the Selectus load board is specifically geared and designed for box trucks, cargo vans, sprinters, the smaller things than the semi trucks. They also are specialized in expedited loads. In other words, things that need to go now. Things that need to go like tonight. I take a load, it needs to be there by tomorrow morning at 8. And because of that niche, they pay more, right? And you compete, and they pay more, but you also pay very high fees for that load board. The Selectus load board is about $500 a month, and it is a 12-month contract, and you cannot get out of it. But believe you me, you will make that $500 within an hour. Many times on the Selectus load board, we get loads which are going 20 miles and you're getting paid $800 because it's expedited. It's not a regular load. Okay. So it's worth its money. So get yourself the Selectus load board. It's a process and it's a contract. Now, if let's say, for instance, you're like, man, I don't have that much money to start with. Okay, start with the DAT board, start with the Amazon board. Once you get yourself situated and you run a few loads and you got some money in the bank, get yourself the Selectus board if you have box truck or less in terms of size. It will pay itself off. It's worth in gold. Okay, so you should have at least those three: DAT board, Amazon, Selectus. Now, there are going to be other boards. You're going to get into an issue where you begin to have relationships with certain companies and they will give you their load boards, XPO, JB Hunt, Millhouse, and so on and so forth. They'll give you their private load boards. You learn how to do that and you learn how to get loads from them. But if you start with those three and you start running them, even if you just start with, let's say, Amazon, you will make enough money to at least, get into the water, start running, start making some money. And then now, most important thing that I'll finish with, you will learn as you go. You will make mistakes. You will make blunders. I can promise you that. And you will run into impossible situations. Let me not forget this one. Your truck will break down. Your truck will break down. That is a guarantee. If you get into this business thinking your truck will not break down, you are going to be run out of this business pronto. Your truck, I don't care if it's brand new, it will break down at some point. Of course, if it's brand new, it's probably going to take a longer time and it's going to have warranties, but then you'll be paying a whole lot upfront, right? So whichever truck you have, it will break down at some point. So because we are talking about profitability, as you run your business, you'll start to see the money comes in. It's a good industry. The money is there if you're wise enough, if you're smart enough, if you hustle enough. Always set aside money for that day when you will get a flat tire or your tire will explode on the road. Tires on trucks are at least $500 to buy the tire before you even get the labor. So one tire job, you're probably spending anywhere around $800 to $1,000 just on changing that one tire, and you cannot travel without that one tire. That's just a tire. you get something happen to your engine, right? You go into the shop, oh, it's injectors. I've had to do injectors twice on the same truck. On the first time, because I didn't know what I was doing, $3,500. The next time, $3,500. But I found out later if I had done it all at once, it would have been $3,500 anyway. You will make blunders, you will make boo-boos, you will lose money, but that's how you learn the business. So, and when those times do happen, don't give up. Don't give up. Learn from your mistakes, learn from the circumstance, learn from the situation, dust yourself up, get up, keep going. You will know, you will realize that in this business you can do that. It is a very gracious business, it is a very forgiving business, but it can also be brutal. It can be brutal. Okay, so set aside some money every week. Most of the time you're getting paid every week and you're getting paid good money. Set aside some money in preparation for that major repair. Okay, if that major repair doesn't come in your initial stages, as you're setting aside that money, when the time comes, I'll give you the advice that my cousin gave me. My cousin is in the business. He gave me the best advice. Plan to grow. Plan to grow. Don't be one of those people that says, I just want one truck and I'm just going to run this truck the rest of my life. No, plan to grow. But of course, that depends on your vision also. So if you're that kind of person, we can't knock you. You do your thing. But if you are the kind of person that is doing this for business, for profitability, plan to grow. But here is the word. Planning to grow, that's not the word. Grow at the right pace. Find out what the right pace for you is. In other words, when is it right for you to buy another truck? When is it right for you to expand? This is what he told me. Don't grow too fast. Don't grow too slow. If you grow too fast, you will find yourself, you have 3, 4, 5 trucks, you have 10 drivers, and all of a sudden, as it often happens, when it rains, it pours, 3 trucks are down, you have to pay hundreds of thousands to people you don't have, and all of a sudden you're bankrupt. So grow at the right pace. You will have to find out what that means for you. Grow at the right pace. Okay. Growing may mean so many things. Growing may mean expanding the number of your fleet. Growing may mean going into a different or into diverse directions of the business. So maybe you're in box trucks, so you start adding semi trucks. Maybe you start adding cargo vans. So you are diversifying. So you do your research, you do your background, and decide what does growth mean for you. What does growth mean for you? And how can you do it in such a way that you leverage yourself, and at the end of the day, you are not killing yourself doing everything, okay, but that you are growing and helping others to get into the business, and at the same time you are freeing yourself to be more strategic, more managerial, more of a CEO type, and hopefully you will do well. Now, let me see. Terry Simon asked the question. So now this is question and answer session here now. So I've explained a lot of things. I know you have taken an hour. So now questions and answers. I'm going to answer the questions that have been asked here. Terry Simon said, well, first of all, Esther Waiganjo said, let me look at all the comments here. All the comments here are, first of all, Esther Waiganjo said, free important info. Thank you, Pastor. Okay. So the bigger the box truck, it's an advantage. Yes, the bigger the box truck, it's an advantage because then you can carry more loads. And that's why semi trucks are the most lucrative, because they can carry the most. Okay, they can transport the most. So that's what people are looking for. They're moving more stuff. Yanni, get out of that fear of driving. Yes, if you're going to get in this business, Terry, you need to drive. When I first started, I'm sure some of you who are my friends, you saw, I taught my daughter how to drive. I taught my wife how to drive. I went on them on the road, say, hey, you sit here, let me show you. Why? Because even though at that time I was just running it myself, I didn't have a driver, what if I got sick? Is the business over? Right? What if your driver gets sick? Now, of course, if you're in CDL area, if you don't have a CDL, you don't have a CDL, so you can do much about that. And that's why for me, I decided to start with the with the box truck. So if you're a woman, you can drive this thing. It's not that difficult. Some of you women, you drive these big excursion SUVs. It's not, or cargo vans, or you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. Next question, next comment here is by Terry. She says, what is DAT? DAT, and you'll find it online. DAT simply is, what do they stand for? I can't remember what the acronym is. Forgive me. Okay, some things I remember, some things I don't remember. DAT is simply a company that has a load board. They connect shipping companies with motor carrier companies. So brokers, that's where they sell their loads. So DAT board, if you're going to get in the business, you can even go tonight and check what is DAT or DAT load board. You'll see it. You'll see videos. They have tutorials. You get it. Okay. Let's see who is next here. Esther Waiganjo says, can a woman do this business and become successful by her own? Absolutely. 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 Without a question, without a doubt in my mind. A woman can do this business and become very successful on her own. You don't need a man to make this successful. You don't need God, right? But you are already equipped as a person. Okay, like I said, for one, driving a truck, whether it's a semi truck or whether it's a box truck, is a skill that is taught. So you can learn how to drive, number one. Secondly, if you're a woman and you want to do this business, you are able to employ people, which includes men and women, to drive for you. My only counsel is do it first yourself. But if you are at the point where I just can't do it, man of God, just can't do it. Okay, go ahead and do it anyway. But just figure that you are going to pay up front the cost of having somebody else drive it for you. And that's okay, because not everybody starts the business by doing it themselves, but the most successful do. Walmart, Sam Walton sold in his little retail store himself. He was a salesman when he started. So McDonald's, the people who started McDonald's, they flipped the burgers themselves. JB Hunt, they drove the trucks themselves. That's how most companies begin. People do it, and then when they grow big enough, then they have others do it for them, and that's the way to do it. That way you are able to know how your business goes. Okay. And Terry Simon says, I have a friend of mine, she's in the industry and she probably does very well. I know a pastor, a woman, she's a pastor, and actually she started driving years ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, how she's a friend of my wife. They came from the same village, and she swings that 18-wheeler. She's a woman. So just being a woman does not hinder you or limit you. In fact, in many places they give you a lot of advantages and benefits for being a woman-run business, and especially if you're African American, Black woman-run business, they give you certain grants, business benefits, whatever. So if you really want to do it, and you have the vision and the clear direction from God or from whatever source you get your source of, because this is again I'm not here necessarily preaching. I'm just here encouraging people who want to get in the business. Okay, so yes, you can do it as a woman. You'll be successful. You can do it as a man. You can be successful. You can do it even as somebody who's just starting out. You are 18-year-old, 19-year-old. You can do this. Okay, where do you get financing to buy your first truck? Many places. If you have or if you take care of your credit, you can actually even finance your first truck. It will pay for itself. Okay, but only do the financing if you are going to really do it, because obviously once you buy that truck for $60,000, $70,000, $50,000, or however much you buy it for, and you finance it, you owe that money until you pay it off. So don't get a loan unless you are truly committed to go through until you pay off the thing. Now, generally, expectation. You should expect running a 26-foot box truck, and I'm only gonna say from personal experience, You should expect running a 26-foot box truck under CDL. You should expect to gross is all of the money that you brought in before you take out your expenses. You should expect to gross on average, on average, and this is a very, very conservative average, 5,000 to 7,000 a week. Conservative average. If you're a hustler, if you will wake up early and sleep late and do what needs to be done, you can comfortably expect to gross anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 a week. If you are a what do they call them? Like the top dog, alpha man, alpha male, alpha woman, you can expect, I'm talking about box trucks, you can expect to gross over $10,000 a week. If you're running a semi truck, you should expect to comfortably gross. This is before you take out expenses. You should expect to gross as a solo driver anywhere between 6 to 8,000, sometimes up to 10,000. If you're running it as a team, which many people do, beyond that. Okay. Now, that whatever gross that is, whether it's 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 a week, you should budget that up to 30% of it is going to be paying the driver, which is either you or somebody that you've employed. You should budget that at least 25% of it is going to go to fuel. And you should budget that at least 25% of it is going to go into your little escrow account for future repairs. Therefore, profit-wise, you should expect to make 25% of your gross as your profit every week, which means, again, based on those numbers that I just gave you, which are very, very, very conservative, let's use the 5,000 number. So let's say you made $5,000 a week, which is very conservative. Okay, that's for the person who they're not really pushing it, they don't know what they're doing. $5,000 a week. So 25% of it, give it to the driver. 25% of it, give it to fuel and incidentals. So now you're left with 50%, which means that now I'm left with 2,500 net, right? Then I'm going to take off that 2,500 net. I'm going to take 1,250 and I'm going to put it in my escrow account for incidentals that are going to come up, some repair that's going to come up. So I made, and I already have a driver driving my truck. I made 1,250 a week. Pure profit, right? And that is very conservative. Now, so let's extrapolate that. So now, if you're making on average 5,000 a week, which is very conservative, by the way, you're not really pushing it. That means that you made $20,000 gross a month, right? So out of that 20,000 gross a month, remember that you have to pay your insurance, which for one truck, if it's not financed, if it's not comprehensive insurance, you're probably going to be paying about, let's just call it $1,000 to $1,300 a month for insurance. Okay, so in addition to the 25% every week, that or 50% that is covering the driver and the fuel and incidentals, you also need to add the insurance cost monthly, because you're paying once a month for insurance. If it is a finance truck, you bought it for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, you're paying somewhere around $2,500 a month, up to $3,000 a month for insurance. Okay, so you need to count in all those things. Okay, so let's just take that same case that I gave you, because this was about profitability, right? So you are very conservative. You made $1,250 net a month, right? So $1,250 times 4 is 5,000. Out of that 5,000 profit, pure profit, then I still have to pay. Let's just assume you finance the truck. Let's assume I'm paying $2,500 a month. That means that my pure profit at the end of that month is $2,500. But that's also because that's as much as I pushed, which means I want to be in the range of $8,000 to $10,000 gross. because the other expenses don't change. The driver gets paid the same every week. The fuel will change. That's a variable. The repairs may change. That's a variable, right? But if you gross more, it means you're making more profit net. So that's just very general, very general, very general. So there is money to be made in the industry, but you will need to have a clear vision. You will need to be very motivated and passionate. You will need to be very organized. You need to do what you need to do. Okay. And if you grow your business well enough, economies of scale. So you have one truck, it's only making you so much. But if you grow enough to where you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trucks, now you can see why the idea is grow at the right pace and expand your business. Then now each truck is giving you a chunk and so on and so forth. And now you have a good fleet that can be a good legacy for you, for your family, and for yourself. And you are also helping others to do what they need to do. Sawa. Is that cool? Now, I know these videos, especially on YouTube, they're supposed to be like 10, 15 minutes so that there's engagement. But I'm not going by those rules. You are my friends, most of you that I can see here. I see Terry Simon, Sam Karaoke, Makamande, Esther Ganjo, Monica Dirango, Paul Ndivo, James Gikonyo. All of you are my friends. Most of you are my countrymen. So we can talk. We can talk. So if you feel led, and I am a pastor, I am a man of God. So for me, the bottom line always is this something that God wants me to be a part of? So allow me to preach just a little bit. Okay. I don't even have to ask for permission. I know I can preach without anybody's permission. I'm a believer. I'm a man of God. I believe that everything that we do here on earth should be based on what God's will is. And it is God's will that we should work. That's clear in the Bible. The first thing that God gave Adam was work, even before he gave him a wife, right? Throughout the Bible, work is always praised. So work, right? God expects us to work. And I believe that it is the will of God that we should prosper in our work. I'm not here preaching a prosperity gospel. I'm just telling you that God is the kind of God that created a world where there is planting and harvesting. And if you do a good planting and harvesting, good planning, you have a good harvest, more harvest. So therefore, my advice to you is seek God's will. Does God want me to get in this business, or does he want me to get into nursing, or does he want me to get into pure ministry? Whatever God wants you to do, that's what you do. And whatever you find to do, the Bible says, whatever you find to do for your hands, do it with all your might. Do it as unto the Lord. Be excellent in what you do. Be a person of integrity. Be a hard worker, because you will reap what you sow. Right? You will reap what you sow. If you work hard, you will certainly reap what you sow. But also, if you work hard in the wrong industry or where God does not want you to do, you will reap a whirlwind. You will reap wind. You will get nothing, even though you work all night. Sawa sawa. So therefore, any other questions? Iko swali. Demo Gikuyu, kuoya kuoya is my policy. Iko swali. Right? But seriously, I'm just here to encourage somebody. Let me say this. This has been the season of stimulus, right? Stimulus. There's all kinds of grants that are being given because of this pandemic. Make it a point, by the grace of God and by the leading of God, make it a point to come out of this desert and this wilderness like Isaac. The Bible says that when there was a drought, that year Isaac sowed his seed. And that year, Isaac had a bountiful harvest. Now, naturally, you would think that the year that there's a drought, that there's chaos, that's when poverty would strike Isaac. But Isaac was tuned into God's will. So I'm just saying this. There's a lot of God caused there to be this government, which people say, oh, it's an ungodly government. It's fine. Pharaoh's government was an ungodly government, but it was in the time of Pharaoh that Joseph prospered and that the people of Israel prospered and were fed during the wilderness, during the drought, during the famine. So I'm just using my preaching experience, right, and knowledge. So a lot of money is being given out, grants from the Small Business Administration. Research them. This is the time for many, not for all. This is the time to start a business. This is the time to, it might not be this business, it might be another business, right? This is the time to launch out and do, and this may not be especially for everyone, but it may be, maybe I'm speaking to somebody here. But if you're going to do it, do your legwork, do your research, utilize YouTube, utilize Google, utilize people that you know now. I do understand, and that's why I'm making this video. Many people who are doing well and successful in certain businesses are very unwilling to share the secrets of the business. My thing about it is the sea is too big, the fish are too many. There's no way, even if 10,000 people joined the box truck business today, they're not going to take a piece of my pie. They're just going to take a piece of their pie. Okay? Because that's just the way it works. So I don't mind sharing the information. I don't expect to be paid. Now, Esther says, thank you again, Pastor. This is what salvation does. Believers giving free info, teaching the word of God, and many people, I pray, and many more. I pray that God gives you more grace. Santi, thank you. Okay. Terry Simon says, Shiko Mary, she's in the industry, and she is a Mogonyi or the 8-wheeler. She drives the 18-wheeler. So she will tell you that what I'm saying is true. Isn't that right, Shiko? The business can be done by a woman, and you can be very successful, and there is good money to be made. Shiko, you are my witness. Is that not true? The figures that I'm giving, 8 to 10,000 a week gross, that's can you confirm if that is so, Shiko? I'm not telling you to tell people what you make, but at least let's give them just a general idea. Let me say this again, because I know I'm talking to a lot of you that are my countrymen that are in the United States, and you're like, man, what do I do? Some of you, and not knocking any job, some of you are flipping burgers, some of you are flipping people in nursing homes, and that is a necessary ministry. Some of you have never made more than $500 a week. I've been there, done that. Some of you are living paycheck to paycheck. You can't make ends meet, right? Some of you have never seen $1,000 kama iko pamoja, right? And so that, and so Jane Boro says, I'm struggling with FMCSA. Jane, inbox me or inbox Shiko. We will help you. Let me offer myself. Let me not offer Shiko before she offers herself. I will help you. Inbox me. We'll talk. I'll find out where you are, what's going on with you. We'll talk. Okay. But if it's a struggle that you want us to discuss here, we can discuss it here. What is it that you're struggling with FMCSA? What is going on there? This is what I said about what about FMCSA. This is what Jane is saying. I guess Jane is trying to get into it. FMCSA, a lot of times people don't know how to fill in the forms. It's so confusing. You go in there, they're asking you things. You're like, tractors, how many number of tractors, how many number of these? And you're like, oh God, I don't know what that. I've never had those terms before. Understand? Even right now, there are so many terms I'm like, I don't know what that is. There is a video, which I'm going to send you, Jen, later. Please make sure you inbox me, of this guy, wonderful guy. I can't even remember his name. He walks you through step by step, screen by screen, how to fill in that thing, how to make sure you have the right information in there for free. For free. Okay? And you do it. And you are in. So the information is there. It's just a matter of accessing it. It's there and it's free. Okay? So if you inbox me, I'll follow up with that, and I'll try my best to help you with that. Okay? So what I was saying is this to my countrymen, and not only just my countrymen, because I know other people are going to watch that are African Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, Mexican Americans. I know many people are gonna, because I have such a wide audience of subscribers. And by the way, please, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share it too, that others may be helped. And in any case, they'll hear me preaching a lot. Right. Now, what was I gonna say? So I think I was gonna say this. Uh, Wherever, whether you are Kenyan, African, Nigerian, wherever you are listening to this, and you're like, okay, I am in America, I'm struggling, and some people are struggling really much. Um, if I did what I knew years ago, I knew about this industry years ago. I knew about it. But for many reasons, which I will not go into, I didn't get into the industry. But knowing what I know now, I would have gotten into this industry way back then, and I would still have done my ministry work even then. Okay. But you get wiser as you grow older and as you experience many things. So if you are struggling somewhere, you don't know what to do, you are paycheck to paycheck, you can't pay your bills, this is an industry to plan to get into. Even if you're not going to be able to get into it tonight, plan for it. Plan for it. Um, Let me talk about credit for a moment, because you might not get a stimulus. Some of us were able, I personally was able to really launch into this because of all the stimulus. So once I started getting all these stimulus, and thank God I have 8 children, they're giving me this money, this money, this money over here. Remember all the stimulus that came? This time I was wiser than in 2008. I was in the US in 2008. They gave out a lot of money in 2008. I didn't get a single cent of it. I never got a stimulus check until this past year. So anyway, you get all this money, and many people do. I don't care if you're African or African American or white American, whatever. You get all this money, and many people blow it. Go to Cancun, buy yourself a sports car, whatever, right? My advice to you is, if you can hear and learn from somebody who learned the hard way, uh, and there are grants from the small business. The US government is very good at encouraging business. There are grants even from state level. Search for them. They are there. Some of them I've not got them, but I know they're there. There are loans that a friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but a friend of mine that we've ministered with for a long time decided, I also want to get into business. He doesn't have children, so he couldn't get all the stimulus money and all that. But he had a good idea. So he went to a local organization that gives loans to people who want to get into business in his area. And they gave him I think like 40,000, maybe $30,000. And he got himself a food truck, started a business, doing well, doing very well. He's a man of God. He's a preacher. Okay, he's not money minded. He's not materialistic, whatever. But he needed to do something in order to take care of his family, just as God says that you ought to take care of your family. The resources are there. So if you don't have good credit and you want to get into the business is not a bar of soap. It's not going to disappear in 6 months. Right? This business has been here for as long as the world has been here. Transportation business is in the Bible. You can go find it. People have been transporting things with carts on their backs, on ships. Transportation business will never go out of style, just like food business, right? Just like health business, right? So I'm not saying this is the only one, but this is I can talk about this one. So um, it's not going to go out of style. People are still going to need to move merchandise from one place to the next 6 months from now, a year from now. So there you are struggling, you are barely making it. I've been there, done that. I know that place. You feel like, why did you bring me to this crazy, wicked place, God? You are there. Do what I didn't do when I was younger. Be wiser and listen to an older man who is now becoming gray in the hairs, and also a man of God, hopefully a wise one. Plan out your life. That's what I talked about, vision at the beginning. Plan out your life and say, okay, God, I'm here. I am going to become productive, and I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to be a person of integrity. I'm going to do what I need to do. So right now I'm in a bad place. I owe so much in student loans. I can't do much. Okay. But 1 year from now, I'm going to get into business, the business that you lead me into, the industry. Let's say it's this one for you. You don't have 20 or 30,000 or however much they are wanting for a truck. Wonderful. Well, it's not wonderful, but fine. Fine. Go to your local bank. Okay. Go to your local bank. Go to your open up a credit union account. Go to Bank of America. I don't care what bank it is. Go to your bank tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday. Go to your bank tomorrow. This is where you start. I'm going to give you practical ways that I did this. Go to your local bank and tell your local bank, I would like to get a secured credit card. Now, of course, I'm talking to people who are in the US. So please don't knock me if you are in Mexico, or because I don't know how the system works. I can only tell you how the system works here. So this is for US people. Go to your local bank, tell them I need a secured card, secured credit card from you. They say, oh, wonderful. Give us the money. With a secured credit card, you give them the money. They don't give you the money. Well, how much do you have? $200. You can open a secured credit card with $200. In fact, there are even places you can open a secured credit card with $100. Capital One, you can get a secured. Even online, you just tell them you want a secured card. So how much can you come up with? $100. Let's say $100 is all you can come up with. Borrow it if you have to. $200. If you can do the $500 one. Now, a secured credit card works like this. So here's your tutorial on credit. These are things that I didn't learn early enough, so that's why I'm doing these things in my late 40s now. I should have done them in my 20s because I was in the US when I was 25. No matter, many second chances you learn, you get up. You get a secured credit card for $200, $300, $400, $500, however much you can afford, which means you give the money to the bank, they give you a card with a Visa logo or a MasterCard logo. You use that card to pay your incidental bills, your gas bill, your fuel on your car. Whenever you go to the gas station, you swipe. You go to Walmart, you swipe. Now, here is the trick. Here's a trick if you're in America to build your credit. Never, ever use more than 30% of whatever you have on a credit card. So if that card is a $500 card, right? Never use more than $150. And if you do, for whatever reason, because you can, sometimes things come up, you have to. So you swipe and you swipe $200 immediately. Within that same week, send in that $200 that you just spent. Or at least send in $50 immediately so that whenever they look at your record, you never use more than 30% of whatever is on that card. Okay? So therefore, because a credit card, they give you a statement at the end of the month, and that's what they record to the credit companies. So make sure that by the time they are reporting how much you spent, you always have 70% of the credit still on the card unused. Therefore, that means that you always use only 30% of your credit. I know it's your money. You gave them 500, but you can only spend 150 on any given month. And whenever you spend more than that, you immediately pay it back. That's one thing. So never spend more than 30% of however much credit you have. If you are fortunate enough to be able to apply for a credit card and they give you one that is not secured, which you didn't have to pay for upfront, same rule. Never, ever use more than 30% of your credit. Okay? And when you do, immediately replace it as soon as possible. So that by the time they report every month, they will say this person, even though they have the capacity and even though they have they have $500 that they could use, they only use 150. If you have been given $1,000, you never use more than 300. So they say this person must be doing well. They have $1,000 they could use. They only use $300. 700 always stays in there. And even when they do spend 500, they usually immediately replace it so that by the time we report, their utilization percentage is always no more than 30%. If you can get your utilization percentage to be even less than 30%, that is what gives you a high credit score. because it means that you're a good manager of credit. It means I can give you money and you don't run off and blow it. You don't run off and spend it on useless things that you don't need. Because credit is supposed to be there for you for the rainy day. Credit is not what you spend on what you don't have, because credit is a loan. But in America, and more and more in every part of the world, you need to have good credit in order to live in this world. You need to buy a house, you need good credit. You need to buy a nice car, you need good credit. You need to buy a piece of land. Even in Kenya now, they're operating on the credit system. So if you have never done it before, and even if you've been doing it wrong and you've been maxing out all your cards and you have a credit score that looks like a score of a soccer match, okay, start now. Say, okay, I'm going to fix this by the grace of God and I'm going to do the right thing. Start paying off. If you have any debts outstanding, start paying them, even if it's $10 a month. If you owe people, hospitals, you went to the emergency room, call them, say, I'm ready to pay. How much can you pay? I can pay $5 a month. Well, can't you pay 100? No, I only have $5 a month. They will take your $5. But you see, this is what's going to happen. If you start paying off your debts, they're going to report that you're paying off your debts. And over time, even if you're paying $5 here, $10 here, $20 there, in time, it will draw a picture, to paint a picture about you, that you are the kind of person that if we loan you money, you pay back. You are not the kind of friend that borrows money and never pays back. You know them, right? You know those kind of friends. They always borrow, but they never pay back. They don't even attempt to pay back. That kind of friend, after once or twice, when they ask you, even when they are in real trouble, you say, I got nothing to give you. You know that, right? That's the same way the system works. So here we are. So we are here. I'm trying to advise somebody who wants to get into business 1 year from now. Maybe you can get in the business now. Start building your credit from your credit union, from your local bank. Go get a secured card. Keep with that rule of 30% for a whole 6 months. In 6 months' time, with just that one secured credit, I guarantee you this for a fact, that in 6 months' time, either that same bank or people that will see your credit report online, credit companies, they'll begin sending you applications. They say, we want to give you credit. Be very judicious about, don't apply for every credit that comes. In 6 months, apply only for one. Don't get too much credit. Okay, just apply for one unsecured credit card. Once you get it, keep it, and again, keep it at 30%. Go on like that for a whole year. By the time you are done for a whole year with 2 cards, you already have enough credit now to begin to make bigger purchases. Okay. Also, if you can, as you're paying off little debts that you have, or if you don't have debts, start putting away some money so that on the day that you decide, I'm going to go into business, and let's say you walk into a dealership and you're going to buy yourself a cargo van, a sprinter van, a box truck, a used one, most probably. You walk in there, you tell them, listen, now my credit used to be 420. Now my credit is at 580. Now my credit at 630. I've been working on it. And not only that, I also have $2,000 here that I've been saving. I have $5,000 here that I've been saving. I would like to buy that vehicle for business. You have a deposit and you have a good credit picture. They will be knocking themselves over to give you that loan. Which, of course, by this time you have got your mind together. You're not doing it so that you can blow money. You're doing it so that you can establish yourself and your family and a legacy for your family. So that's how you go about that. Now, I know that's simplistic, but build your credit and utilize that credit to get yourself the equipment or the materials or whatever it is, because it's not only this business that you need to get yourself going in the industry. Now, let me talk to you single mothers, single fathers, or wholesome families that husband and wife, you have children, right? You know, especially if you have children, those of you who have, I'm talking to you parents, you know that if you do your taxes right, you are going to get a refund. Let's just be honest. You're going to get a refund next year. if you're doing your taxes right, right? They've been taking money out, and you do to your taxes, you're going to get yourself 4,000, 5,000, 8,000, whatever much amount of money they're going to give you back. And you've been blowing it every time. Every time you get it, you go and you buy yourself a sofa set, and then, it gets messed up. You go, you buy yourself, things that just don't have value, right? You go and party, you go to Cancun, you go on a vacation to Mombasa, right? This time, right? When they give you that refund, if you do get one, I know it's not everybody that gets one, but if you do, this time make a distinction, make a choice, and say, okay, this time I'm gonna invest this money, because I tell you this, we are in December. The people are going to be getting their refunds of taxes that they paid and all that, and child tax credits, and income and credit, and all that money that is going to be given. We're still in the pandemic, so they're still going to be giving a lot of money next year. So many of you are going to be getting 10,000, 5,000, 7,000. That's already enough. Sorry, that's my business partner. That's my wife. So I'm talking about business with her. So you're going to get money, many of you. I know it's not all of you, but many of you are going to get money, and many of you have been blowing that money on things that you cannot even account for. If truly you are in the place where you're saying, okay, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, okay, plan for it. Go tomorrow and start building that credit. So we're in December. So let's count January, February, March, April, May. You are probably going to get your little refund, whether it's $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, however much you're going to get. By June, 6 months will have gone. So you'll have built your credit for 6 months. And now you have an amount of money. You can walk into a dealership, or you can deal with a commercial financing company, and you can buy yourself a commercial vehicle. Don't go and buy yourself a nice Toyota Camry or whatever it is that you like just for cruising around. Don't go buy yourself a Hummer just for showing off. Delayed gratification, right? Do that later. Get yourself a business thing, whether you're opening up a salon and you buy yourself a salon chair, or you're doing nails and you get yourself whatever they do. But in this particular business, you are getting yourself a truck, right? Because you're going to get that money one way or the other. Either you're going to get it as a refund, or you're going to get it as a loan. So don't tell me that the reason you're not doing business is because you don't have financing. The financing is there. If you are like, no, I'm not going to use taxes, I don't get taxes, and I'm not going to get a loan, okay. Then go to the Small Business Administration website tonight after this and study how to get a small business grant for African American women, for single women, for single parents, for single fathers. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. There's grants that help people who are disadvantaged. Don't be too proud. Okay? If you are in a disadvantaged position, you can make ends meet, be humble. Let me tell you how we got out of a very deep place of poverty for many years. We got to a place where God humbled us so much that we were able to go to our regular state office and ask for welfare. I know many of you are too proud. I'm not going to. Yeah, but you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Go get yourself a food stamp card. If you are having a difficult time feeding your family, go get yourself. And because if you're really having a difficult time feeding your family, then you really do need welfare. Don't be too proud. Get it, but get it for the right reason. Don't get it to get over the system. If you can't feed your children, you can't make ends meet, get yourself a food stamp card. I had a food stamp card for the longest time because I just couldn't make it. We were living paycheck to paycheck. We had holes in our pockets. So we applied for it. They gave us money to feed our children. Okay, now money for feeding, money for buying food at Walmart or whatever grocery store was no longer the issue. Because now the children are fed. Now I'm freed from that anxiety. Okay. Then, like I said, okay, what else? What else is available for me? I want to get out of this hole. I don't want to live in poverty all my life. What else is available for me? Research. Grants are there from the government. Grants are there from private organization. Churches help a lot of people. Go ask your church, what can you do for me if I'm willing to do the right thing to get out of this situation that I'm in? Do whatever it takes to be productive. You are created to be productive. You know how you know you are created to be productive? Most of you that are watching me right now have children. You produced children. You are a productive thing. I know you're not a thing, but you are created to be productive. And if you are created to be able to produce children, you're also created to be able to produce the food that they will eat. I know there are circumstances and situations that come up in life that can be quite a hindrance to that, but maybe this is the word for you. This is the moment for you to say, I need to get myself together. Maybe you are the prodigal son that needs to get yourself together, get out of the drinking, get out of the drugs, get out of the careless living, and go back to God, go back to church, go back, do whatever it takes to get straight and do the right thing and be productive. That's what you are created to be. You will be held accountable for what you did on planet Earth by your creator, whether you believe in him or not. Okay, so plan for it. You may not be able to do it this December, but say, okay, but I will do it in June. I will do it next December. I will do it in 2023. Plan for it. Dream about it. That's why I started by saying, have a vision. What do you envision yourself doing? What do you envision yourself doing? If it is tracking, do your homework. Write your vision down. Decide which section of logistics you're going to do. Are you going to be a courier? Look, guys, I know there's a reason why maybe I'm doing this tonight. You want to get into logistics, but you are there, you are paycheck to paycheck, but at least you have a car, right? Some of you have a car. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. When you get off of work, don't go and watch TV. Shut that thing down. Don't go on Instagram and make little funny TikTok videos. Okay? You don't have the time. TikTok videos are for rich kids. Okay? And they are for the rest of us to enjoy when we are taking a break. Don't make TikTok videos if you're not making your ends meet. No. You'll make them later. Do this. Get home from work and get yourself an Uber app or a Lyft app or DoorDash. Do it for 3 hours after work, right? And save that money. So do something different, man. Don't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Do something different. Push yourself a little bit further. Go ask somebody for advice. How come you are being able to make it? I'm not being able to make it. I've done all sorts of things as a pastor. I've door dashed a lot. I've done Lyft. I've done Uber. I've done all sorts of things. And it helped. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. And it builds your character too when you are a hard worker. And in good time, God makes things to come together for you. You will reap what you sow. Right? So, is there any other question? I know this has gone on much longer than 10 minutes. I promised 10 minutes. Look at it, an hour 46. But, I guess I like hearing my own voice. I'm a talker. Michael Newman, how are you, sir? So, is there any other question? Any other question, guys? You want to get into? Okay, let me summarize because somebody was like, I just came in at the end. Okay, summarize. Summarize. How do you get into the tracking business? I'm only going to talk about tracking business in summary, then I'm going to close. Okay, tracking business. You have to begin by having a clear vision of what you want to do, why you want to do. Do you want to do semi-trucks? Do you want to do box trucks? Do you want to do cargo vans? Do you want to do sprinter vans? Do you want to be a courier? Which clarify your vision. If you don't have a clear vision, pray. Ask God, what should I do, God? Is this for me? If it's not for you, Leave it alone. Don't add anxiety to your life. Okay, if you have a clear vision, first step, open or register a business with your state. Register a business with your state. That will need you to choose a name for your business. That will need for you to go to your state government website, not some commercial website. State government, all 50 states have it. You register the business there, you'll probably pay $20, $50 directly to them. Once you have it registered in the state, go to the federal government, irs.org. It's free of charge. You register and get yourself an employer identity, a tax ID number, for your business. Register your business as a limited liability company, unless you already know more about corporations and all that. Just LLC is all you need. Esther Waiganjo LLC is enough, right? Or Blessed Tracking LLC. Make sure that that name is not being used by anybody else, whatever it is. So you have your business license from your state. You have your federal ability to transact business as an entity from the IRS. Go to your bank, local bank. So tonight, you can actually do the state registration tonight. You can sleep with a business license and the IRS number. You can do that because most states' websites are online 24/7. You can do that tonight. Tomorrow, you go over to your bank with your business license, which you can print out from your printer or from your local print shop. And you have your IRS number, which is given immediately, instantaneously. You apply for it. You go to your local bank and you say, I need to open a business account, because nobody will transact business with you without a business account. How do you get paid? How do you pay vendors? How do you pay people who you're transacting business with? So now you have your business registered with the state and the federal government. You open a bank account, right? So you open a bank account. The other thing I said in there, which I didn't do at first myself, get yourself a phone number that is separate from your personal number when you're registering your business. Get yourself a Google Voice number or whatever the case may be, so that when vendors and people call you, they call you on a number different from your personal number. Okay. Once you have those three things done, then now you can go to the FMCSA. FMCSA. I always forget. FMCSA. Yeah, it is. FMCSA. There is a Department of Transportation entity that is authorized. It is a government department that authorizes people to drive trucks, transportation within U.S. Highways. Get yourself a DOT number. Get yourself an MC number. DOT number is what authorizes you to be in the tracking all over federally. MC number is what authorizes you to transport property, goods, whatever you're going to be doing across state lines, from state to state. Okay, so if you're only going to be doing strictly only your state, you don't need an MC number. But if you're going to go beyond your state, which is almost always going to happen, even if you are local, you need an MC number. So you register for that. It takes 21 days to get the authority. It takes 21 days from the time you register to the time you get authority. In the midst of all that, you do the other required things. There is something called BOC3, BOC3. Costs $25. Don't pay $140 for it. There's something called UCR. You will need to get that. There's something called DOT physical. You get a medical card. And if you check on Google, it will tell you who is authorized to do a medical examination for DOT purposes in your area. Most urgent cares, they do that. Okay, that is for the driver. So if you don't intend on driving at all, you really don't need a medical card for yourself, but you will need a medical card for any person who drives for you. But I'm assuming you're going to be driving, so get that card early on. Okay. Once you have all that together, then you need to get your insurance. Usually you want to get your insurance even before you get your truck. Okay. But if you can get your truck in that 21-day period, hallelujah, get it. If you don't have a truck, but you need to get insurance, I said earlier it takes 21 days to get authority. Wait until at least the 12th day after you first applied to apply for insurance. Don't apply for insurance on the first day, because then you'll be paying for a whole month of insurance that you cannot use. And it's a lot of money. Okay. So plan to have at least $3,000 for the insurance alone before you do anything else, before you even buy a truck. If you buy a truck, plan to have another extra 3,000 just to put down for your insurance. Okay. So you get your insurance, and you can insure anything. You can insure your personal car for the purposes of getting the MC. Without insurance, you will not get authority. Right? Once you have that down, begin to register to get load boards, because once you have your truck and once you have your authority, you will need to get loads to transport. That's the trucking industry. And I talked about 3 load boards that I believe that one should get in order. First one you get as soon as you have your authority is the DAT board. DAT analytics, they call it. Trackers. DAT is just DAT. Just go type in DAT, get a DAT board, get it on the day that you get your authority. It's going to be, the first month is going to be free. That way you can learn how to work it. Okay. Then also in that final few days as you go to get your authority, apply for Amazon Relay load board. Amazon Relay. Okay. Amazon Relay is really awesome because you're not working with any brokers. You're not working with any middlemen. It's you and Amazon. You transport something for them. They pay you directly. No phone calls, no negotiating, no haggling. It's a lifesaver. It's a good place to start, and it is pretty lucrative most of the time. If you are well situated financially, get yourself the Selectors board. It's going to cost you at least $500 a month. It is going to be a contract that you cannot get out of, 12-month contract. So once you get it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you go out of business, you will pay them that $500 every single month for 12 months. So make sure you're already ready to go to get there. DAT board, first month is free. The lowest level of DAT board is going to be about $40 a month. If you really want to get good value for it, plan on paying at least $75 to $125 a month for the board. That's where you get your loads. Then run. You will fall, crawl, get up, run again till you learn how to run. And don't worry, when you make mistakes, you will make them. When you start making your money, please be a good steward of your money. Keep money for repairs. You will get them. Okay, save your money. And when it has increased enough, and when you are in a place where you know what you're doing well enough, grow. Buy another truck, buy another cargo van, buy another sprinter, whatever it takes. Grow at the right pace. Don't go too fast, don't grow too slowly. God will bless you. God will bless the work of your hands. You will do well. Okay. Sawa. So that will be it. Final comment here. Esther Waiganjo says, this is Holy Ghost led. The Holy Ghost led you to this. I had a Bible question, and I remembered you said earlier you'll go away for a while, and I wished you would come back. Thank you, Jesus. You came back live, and your advice has encouraged me. Okay, now this is XTD. XTD says, does this delivery also involve unloading? It may not. Depends on the type of delivery you do. Okay, if you're talking about semi trucks, so let me give you 3 levels. Let me answer this question on 3 levels. If you're talking about semi trucks, 99% of the time there is no unloading. The driver does not touch the load. 99% of the time. 1% of the time, which you will know up front when you are buying the load, when you're getting onto the deal, they will tell you up front, we need the driver to help take the load or to put the load in, and that's a negotiating point. So if you are told as a semi-truck driver that you have to unload or you have to put it in, then that's when you tell them, then you need to pay me more because I don't touch freight. But if I'm going to touch it, you pay me more. Okay. If you are doing box truck business, you are most likely, I would say percentage wise, 70% of the time, you're not touching the load. 30% of the time, you will need to be touching the load if you're doing box trucks. If you have a box truck, you need to get yourself a pallet jack, because if you don't have a pallet jack, you will miss many loads that you could have gotten. If you can buy a truck that has a lift gate, please, if you have a choice between a truck that has a lift gate rather than one that doesn't, please get one that has a lift gate. In fact, you should have a goal, if you're going to buy a box truck, to buy a box truck that has a lift gate, because most of the time that is going to be the difference between getting a load or not getting a load. So 70% of the time on box trucks, you're not touching the load. 30%, sometimes up to 50% of the time, you might have to touch the load. But that's depending on when you're getting the load, they will tell you that if you have to touch the load, that's a negotiating point. Well, usually I would have wanted you to pay me $3 a mile. If I'm going to touch that load, you need to pay me $4 a mile. So be a good negotiator. If you are going to do sprinter, cargo vans, and smaller vehicles, I would say 99%, well, let me rephrase that. 100% of the time, you're going to be touching that load. If you have a minivan, if you have a cargo van, if you have a sprinter van, let me just use 99%, because even with sprinter vans, sometimes they'll come and take it out with a forklift. But for the smaller vehicles, you are most likely going to be touching that load. If you have a small vehicle, you are transporting little things, courier within town, you have to take that thing from your car up to that office. Okay, I've done that also. If you're doing that, you probably will need what do they call it? A two-wheeler. I forget what it's called. Anyway, the little two-wheeler thing that you put things on. The terms sometimes run away from me. So you can see how it goes. So the smaller the vehicle that you have, the more likely that you're going to touch the load and load it and unload it. The bigger the vehicle, the more likely that there it is. XTD, thank you, Dolly. You're helping me. A dolly. It's called a dolly. So if you are going to use smaller vehicles, you need a dolly. If you are using a very small vehicle, you still need a dolly. You probably need to buy one on Amazon, the one you can fold. Right? You will need it. The bigger the vehicle, like for instance, by the time you get up to a 20-foot truck, 24-foot truck, 26-foot truck, all you need is a pallet jack. Sometimes you might need a dolly, but rarely do you ever need a dolly when you are up to 26 foot, unless you're doing local deliveries. A lot of local inside delivery, you might need a dolly. Let's say you're transporting a lot of printing papers, then you take it to the dock, then they want you to take it from the dock and take it up to the office. I've done that also. You want to stay away from that if you can. The best place to be is you have a dock high truck, dock height. When you buy a truck, make sure you don't buy a U-Haul truck. Make sure you don't buy a low riding truck. You buy a dock high truck that has a lift gate. Okay, so that when you go to pick up things, you go to the dock, just like the semis, you back up, and if it's a good enough truck, they drive their forklift into your truck. If you have a very strong one. If you don't have a very strong one, always tell them, bring the load up to the dock, I'll take it in. Okay, don't get into the habit of having forklifts getting into your truck, because if you have a very small car, not very nicely built inside, it will break your little car, your little truck, rather. Okay, so but for the most part, if you have a dock height truck, you're mostly not going to touch that freight. They bring it in. When you get to where you're delivering it, they'll take it out. But every so often, you will get a load which you have to do the work. Use it as a negotiating point to say, hey, I'm going to sweat. You're going to pay me more. So therefore, many times, if you have a 20-foot truck, 24-foot truck, you can deliver, and this is often, this is regular, especially if you're wise enough, you can deliver a load for 20 miles and get paid $1,000 often. 800 is normal for 20 miles. Why? Because you are the one that is having to take it in and take it out. So you say, I need $1,000. A lot of people that don't know that are getting in the business are getting paid $100. And they're saying, well, it's only 20 miles. Man, I made $100 in an hour. Hogwash, you still use your truck and you still use your diesel to take that thing, and your truck. Picture this is the way you think about when you're getting a load, whether you are going to accept to be paid $100 just because it's down the street, or whether you're going to demand $1,000, right? Let's say, let me give you a true practical scenario that happens all of the time in the trucking business. You have a load that's moving from one street to the other, quarter a mile. That's all you're moving that load. So you go, you dock, they put the load on your truck, you start off, you hit the first turn, and you get a flat tire. Or your truck just decides that's the day it dies. Now, you already signed a contract that you're going to get that load to the receiver. That company doesn't care. You will get that load there. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to call Loves, or you're going to call some repair person, some repair company to come and change your tire. That repair company is going to sell you the tire for $500, and they're going to charge you $300 to change the tire. So now you are $800 into the cost of this load that you accepted to get paid $150 for, because hey, it's only going to take me 20 minutes, right? Now, where are you going to get the $800 from? So you paid $800 and you take the load and you get paid $150. How are you feeling now? How is it going for you right now? You feel like a dummy, right? And you are, because you didn't count that might happen to you, and it happens all of the time. Okay, let's say it's not a tire, maybe something more. So number one, they have to tow your truck to the shop. So because you already signed the contract, you now have to go to the board and you have to broker or call, or if they call a company, if you call the shipper and they say, this happened to me, they say, okay, we'll send another truck. They'll send another truck. Somebody will charge them $1,000 to come take the stuff from you and take it where it's going, and they will charge you the $1,000 because you signed a contract that you are going to deliver the load, but you only charge that $150. So that's why, especially for you newbies, don't think in terms of hours of working. Think of the whole thing. Because if you're coming in from, I've been getting paid $10 an hour, and here is a person telling you, I'll pay you $200 for 20 minutes of work, you're like, oh yeah, $200, man, I've never made $200. But you have to think about the whole thing. So that now they say, we have this load, it's just going down the street. Yep, $1,000. What? Yep. Well, we'll get somebody else. That's fine. You go ahead and get somebody else. Let me sit in my house. Let me sit in the truck stop for that 20 minutes and not get into that, because I don't know what is going to happen the moment I hit that road. And it has happened to me where I didn't expect something to happen, and all of a sudden I'm paying $1,000. I'm paying $3,000 to get my truck fixed, and I have the load on. So it has to happen. So that's all those things you factor them in when you're negotiating. And many of the times, actually 99% of the time, the companies are paying a whole lot of money to the broker. So when the broker is telling you to transport the load for $100, he's already been given $2,000. But he's trying to find somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and he's going to make at $1,800 for doing nothing except for connecting you, the carrier, with the shipper who needs the load to go to the receiver. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Does that help, XTD? Does that help? So if you're getting in the business, please, please, please learn what it means to negotiate and what the costs of the business are. Those things will happen to anybody. It has happened to me so many times. One time I was transporting a load, just local. I'm in the middle of the load. one injector blows up in my engine. So fortunately, I was working for a local company. They were not paying me that much, so they ate the cost. They had to send another truck, pay another driver to come to take the load from me. They took the load away from me. Then I had to call a tow truck company, and tow truck companies for trucks are not like $40 a mile. It's on average $400-500. So I had to tow that truck for $500 to the shop. That's before they even diagnose. Then they tell you, oh, to diagnose is $150 an hour to diagnose what's happening. Then once they diagnose, they tell me, oh, it's going to cost you $3,500. Guess how much I was being paid that day? Back then, when I didn't know what I was doing, the whole day for all the loads I was taking, I was getting paid, I think, something like $250. I ended up paying about $4,000 on that one day. Now, I became wiser, right? So now I'll ask for that $1,000 for 20 miles. We'll negotiate. I might come down to $750, $650, maybe even $500 if I'm really feeling gracious that day. Because I know something is going to happen down the line. I'm not being negative. That's just the way tracking work. Because these machines are big, and when they break down in a big way. So that kind of thing. Okay. So that's in negotiation. So you'll get the load boards. Same thing with Amazon. If you're getting on Amazon, Amazon is very sly. Jeff Bezos is a very sly guy. That's why he's the richest man in the world. He will post a load on the load board. You're going 800 miles, and he'll post, I'll pay you right now $1,000 to take it. And newbies, done it, been there. They will jump on it. They'll like, $1,000, man. And I know I can do this in one day, $1,000 in a day. Yeah. So then, of course, you get hit by that repair bill on that same load for $2,000, $3,000, and you're like, now I'm out of business. But Jeff Bezos, being the richest man in the world, he can well pay $3 a mile, which for that load, which is 800 miles, should be about $2,500. But you took $1,000. Now you can't even pay for your diesel, can't pay for your truck, can't pay for your insurance, right? So anyway, I hope these inside secrets are helping somebody. I think Elias asked me this. Elias Mukindia. How lucrative is a venture? Is lucrative enough? Okay, because transportation is such a big industry. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. There's a lot of money in it. Very, very, very lucrative. Okay. Some people make very, very good money in it. Some people make nothing. Some people work all day long. For instance, if you work in a part of the industry called last mile, some of you have heard of last mile. Last mile is the people who take the property from the last place that it's brought in a warehouse to the house of the customer. A lot of XPO, Home Depot does this, right? Somebody has bought a refrigerator, somebody has bought a washing machine. Now they need somebody to get it from the warehouse, from the Home Depot warehouse, or from the Lowe's warehouse, or from Walmart warehouse to the customer's kitchen. Let's say it's a gas range, an electric range, right? So they have truck drivers that pick them up. You fill up your truck with all these washing machines or gas ranges, and all day long you take them to the customers, you offload them, you take them in the house, you put them where the customer wants it, and many times you install it. And often, most of the people who do last mile deliveries get paid $500 a day. That's the average. They get paid $500 a day to go pick up 10 washing machines or however many it is, and to take them to the customer, to take them up the steps or the elevator, to put them in the kitchen, to connect them to the furniture, to put it together. $500 for all day work. I was very tempted to do it. Okay, $500. Now, and because it is washing machines and refrigerators, guess what they're having to do? you are having to employ a helper. So this $500, you're paying for your diesel, you're paying yourself, you're paying your helper, and you are anticipating you'll pay for your repairs when they do come, and they will come. It is the height of slavery. It's modern day slavery. Now, Walmart or Lowe's, they already made their money hand over fist. They're just looking for somebody who doesn't know what they want to do and who is willing to give them their sweat for nothing. And somebody has to do it, and somebody does it, of course. Okay. If you are getting into this business, please stay away from that crap. It is crap. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. There is enough loads out here that don't need you to touch them, that don't need you to go and install for somebody in their house. Now, if that's your passion and that's your calling in life, do it. Be content in it. But if you're the kind of person that's saying, I want to be the most productive in every aspect of productivity, don't do that. Because that's not even right. That's not even integrity. Those companies are just exploiting people just like back in the slavery days. Okay? Get on the dartboard, pay that $500 a month. Listen, on average, if you work with Amazon or you work on the dartboard, you work just regular loads from town to town, you will get paid on average $3 a mile. Let's just say for box trucks, let's just even call it $2 a mile. Which means if you decide I'm gonna do interstate, which means I'm going from state to state over the road, or at least within a particular region, Midwest. I'm only going to work in Chicago, St. Louis, Wisconsin, that region, Indiana. That's all I'm going to work, and then I go home. Might be away from my house for 2 days a week, 3 days a week, fine. So let's say you are working on a radius of 500 miles or 400 miles, right? So let's say you are being able, and you're being able to, on the very least, 5 days a week, you are going a one-way distance of 400 miles. You should be able to do that easily on any given week. Okay. Now, some weeks are better than others, of course, but let's say you are going only 400 miles. That means that 400 miles times $3 a mile is $1,200. You are going, back up your truck, they load the thing. All you do is to come to strap it. It's your job to secure the load. It's never the job of the warehouse. The only time they secure the load for you is sensitive loads that they don't even want you to see it or touch it. So they secure it for you. They put all the straps, they close the door, they put a seal on it so you can't touch it. And there are many loads like that. But other than that, most of the time, they load it for you. You go, you secure it. You make sure the load is good. It's not going to move while you are transporting it. So let's say you're being able to do that 400 miles a day, which is not rocket science. You should be able to do that if you hustle. So $1,200, let's call it $1,000 just to be conservative, $1,000 a day, which means that if you work 5 days a week, you should be comfortably be able to gross. This is gross numbers now, guys. So don't go crazy on me, right? $5,000, 5 days, right? If you're working 6 days, that's $6,000. That is a good average for box trucks. Just a nice conservative average. 25% of that, give it to fuel. 25% of that, give it to the driver. 25% of that, put it aside for things that you don't know what's going to happen. Which means you're taking a net profit home. You should expect to take a net profit home of 25% net profit. So you guys, hopefully you are in business enough to understand the difference between gross profit, net profit. Gross profit is how much you brought in together. Net profit is how much you are left with after all expenses, after taking everything away that you're going to take away. 25% to the driver, 25% to fuel and incidentals, 25% you set aside for the rainy day. And it is going to rain, guaranteed. So you're taking 25% home. That 25% that you're taking home is now what if you're the driver, remember you got paid as a driver, that's what you're putting in your savings account for the growth of your company, right? So if we were working with that $1,000 a day, you're talking about $5,000 gross a week if you're working 5 days a week, which means that you are left, I think we calculated to be $1,250 for your future. You already paid yourself if you're the driver. If you have a driver, then you still already paid them, and you still got left. And remember, these are just averages. Some weeks are better, some weeks are worse. The more you learn, the better you do. The more experienced you are, the better you'll do, right? So your question, Elias, is that lucrative? I think I would say yes. I would say yes. Now, let me say this, because again, this is a long video, so I think it's better to just include all the things that I need to be said. When you're working in the trucking business, and in most businesses for that matter, you have to get out of the employee mindset. Nobody is taking the taxes from you. Nobody's taking the taxes from you. You will pay your own taxes, which means once you get in the business, one of the advisable things to do is to get yourself an accountant. Now, somebody might, oh, no. If you go on Craigslist and you go to many of these social media sites, there are many accountants that will say, I'll charge you $50 or $100 a month, not to be in your office. I'm not going to be your daily accountant, but I'll charge you $100 a month. And once a month or once every 2 weeks, I will come in, I will arrange your books. I will make sure everything is organized. And once a month, I will make sure that your federal taxes are paid, your state taxes are paid. Once a month, you pay me $100 a month. So if that guy who's doing CPA accounting, he has 10 clients and he's getting paid $100 a month, you see that he has $1,000 that he's getting paid, or whatever the case may be, and he can. That's our job that he does in a few hours is done. So get yourself an accountant, because nobody is going to organize that for you. And if you're going into business, by the end of the year, you have all kinds of things that are happening that need to be accounted for. Depreciation, federal taxes, state taxes, Medicare taxes, all that kind of thing. So get yourself an accountant. Add that to your cost. Okay. Now, Richard asked this question, and I'm not going to answer this question here, but I'm going to read the question because that's for a different forum. I'm not laughing at your question, Richard. I'm laughing at the fact that you're asking this question on this particular forum and that I'm refusing to answer it now. I'm going to answer it on a different forum, and I know you'll understand why. So he says, hey, Pastor, what will happen to the Chinese and the Japanese who don't know Christ, since Jesus is the only way? Are they going to hell? Now, the question is very good. I'm not laughing at the question, but I'm not going to answer the question, because what I can tell you is this right now, Prophet Richard, they are not going to make any profit in the box truck business or the semi-truck business. They need to get their authority. They need to get their bank account. They need to get their business together. The reason I'm answering in a funny way like that, Richard, is this particular video, this particular broadcast, I'm only focusing on what was the question? Where is the question? Here it is. Here is a question. And I know that you know me as a preacher, and mostly I'm preaching, but today I'm not preaching. So you want to get into trucking. So this is counsel, advice to somebody who wants to get into the trucking business in the United States of America. And I'm pretty sure that it kind of works almost the same way everywhere. Different little differences there and there in how it's done, but generally. So, but Richard, when I do come to the Ask the Pastor Bible study, I will answer that question about the Chinese, Japanese. What, let alone the Chinese? Why are you crying about the Chinese and Japanese? How about our forefathers, our great grandfathers who never heard about Jesus? Are they going to hell? Are they all in hell? All our ancestors are in hell because they didn't believe in Jesus? Hey, they didn't confess Jesus is Lord. We'll answer that question in another forum. I hope you love me. I hope you love me. And I love you too. So just to keep things in their lane, right? So that's an important question. That's a question that needs to be answered by every Christian. So Uh, so, guys, I hope that I've given you a good summary. If you want to get in the trucking business, it is a good business. But just like any business, you will need to work. You will need to work hard. But more importantly, you will need to work smart and wise. And most important of all things, you will need all of the grace of God that you can master. You will need the help of God. Whether you believe in Him or not, you will need His help. But you will need to be smart. You will need to do your research. You will need to be very intentional in how you do the business. It is a good business. There's money to be made. There's also money to be lost. There's losses to be made. There's profits to be made. And my two keys for succeeding: number one, be in the midst of God's will, and number two, work hard and work wise. Both work. So have God, work. But in working, work wise, work smart. Hustle, do whatever you gotta do. Right? Keep God first. Can someone who wants to get into trucking business but intends to employ someone still make money? Of course. Of course. What would your be advice? My advice would be this. Even if you intend to employ somebody, make sure that even if you never drive that truck yourself ever, make sure that once you have organized everything and you have the money to get into it and you're ready to go, make sure you take off from your regular career business, even if it's for a week or two. At the beginning of the business, get into the passenger seat of that truck, drive wherever the driver goes. Take the phone calls if you have a dispatcher, we didn't talk about that. So you get in the business, you don't have the load boards, you should get Amazon load board, that board, and do the dispatching yourself. Let's say you're using a dispatch service, fine. You sit in that seat, let the driver drive. If you're not going to drive, you be the one to communicate with the dispatcher. Get to know what happens in that part. Okay, be the one to make the decisions whether to take that load or to reject that load. Have the standards that you have decided, this is my standard of operating, so that even if you never do the business yourself, like practically, at least you went on that road. You are there when that vehicle broke down. You are there when you are in a town and you guys couldn't get a load and you had to deadhead it for 300 miles. So that now when you are at your house and the driver tells you and the dispatcher tells you there's no loads in that town since yesterday, he will have to travel 300 miles in order to get a load, and you're paying for it, and there's no other two ways. You are not going to be saying, no, they're cheating me, they're lying to me, they're stealing from me. And a lot of people do that because they don't understand how the business works. No, if you're going to do the business as a business, at the very least, get into the business, do it yourself, even if you're not doing it as the one who will always do it. And that goes for anything. You want to get into nursing, you're not a nurse, work in that facility, work in that office of the agency. You have an agency and you're not a nurse yourself, be in the agency, know exactly how the transactions are done between the agencies and the clients and the nurses. Go and supervise them as they are doing the job. Because think about these guys. When your driver will get stopped by the DOT, and they will, when something is lacking, when there is an accident, and I hope there isn't, and they are asking you questions, what are you going to say? I don't know. I don't know. You are responsible. So if, as a responsible person, take the time to learn the business, take the time to learn the industry, so that when you are now doing it, you know what you're doing, you know what's happening, and you are sympathetic to the situations that are happening. When the driver calls you and says, this is where I am, this is what needs to do, know that now you can say to the driver, you know what, go ahead, get into that hotel room, give me the receipt, I'm paying for it. Because you've been out there. See, I've been out there long enough I know now what it is like to be on the road. I know the challenge. I don't know all of them, but I know how hard it is. I know what needs to happen. I know that there are some times I've been out there and I just need not to do anything, and I need to sleep for 2 days in order for me to operate. But if you've never experienced it, you'll be wondering, this guy is very lazy. He wants to sleep. He wants to sleep and he doesn't want to do anything. And he's got my truck and I'm paying for the insurance. I'm paying for this. I'm going to get another person. Just because you don't know what you're doing. Here is something that I heard and learned, and I don't know how true it is. But JB Hunt is one of the biggest trucking companies, and Hogan, you see their trucks all over the road. Even today, any family member in Hogan, because all their families work there because they make billions of dollars, right? JB Hunt, they make billions of dollars. You are a family member in the Hogan family or in the JB Hunt family, and you want to get in the business, in the family business, this is what they do. And I don't know how true it is, but I think it is because it's been testified by a couple of people that I have heard from. It doesn't matter if you're the son or the daughter of the CEO of JB Hunt. This is what they do. When you are getting into the family business, they either have you get a CDL and drive a truck for 2 years before you can ever do any office work, or even if you're not going to drive the truck, they make you sit in the passenger seat of one of their semi trucks with the driver for 2 years. They make their children, their sons, their nephews, their nieces go on those trucks for 2 years. Without that, they tell them, you are not working in this office. You're not going to be a CFO. You're not going to be a CEO. You're not going to be a manager or a supervisor of anything until you run on that truck and you be with that driver. You'll be the driver for 2 years because that's how long it's going to take you to actually understand the business. Then that guy, once he comes back into the office, he's made to work every department. He goes and does the dispatching. He works in the shop. He's not the mechanic, but he's gonna be there working with the mechanic. He goes so that by the time that guy becomes the CEO of that company, he knows exactly what is happening with those trucks. He knows exactly what is happening on that road. So when you call that guy in the middle of the night and he's the last guy that you can call, and he's the son of the owner of the company, and he's the only person you can get, and you're telling them, these people won't load me. Right? I receive calls here. My wife is my witness. I receive calls here at 2 o'clock in the morning. The driver calls me and say, hey, these guys are refusing to load me. Solve the problem. Now, if I wasn't on the road before, I would be like, you solve it. No, no, no. You are responsible. You solve. I'm just your driver. So I have to wake up. I have to make the calls. I have to argue with people. I have to threaten people. I have to do whatever it takes. I have to get the load going. But I can only know that when I'm there, out there myself. But that is every business. That's every business. Be like God, right? When God wants to do something, he comes and does it himself and then says, now do it like I do it. That's what Jesus did, right? Do as I do. Don't just say, do what I say. Do as I do. Right? So the business is good. It's lucrative, but you will need to work and you will need wisdom and you will need grace and you will need money. Somehow you need financing to get in the business. So either you will self-finance or you will get a loan or you will get a grant, and all those are available. Which one you go by will depend on two factors. And this is where my pastoring always comes in. Whether you are self-financing or getting a loan or getting a grant from the government is going to depend on God's will for you. So don't expect that you will get in the business the way I did, or the way so and so did, or the way so and so did. It's going to be one of them, but it's going to be catered for you. So God may have you go take out a loan so that you can learn how to be a good steward and how to pay back money. God may give you a windfall. You get a grant. You don't owe anybody because maybe you already learned how to be a good steward. So whatever it is, so the God factor, I don't care if you're a believer or not, the God factor is always going to be there. Whether you believe it, whether you don't believe it, it's there. This universe did not come into being by itself. These things didn't come into being by themselves. The second part that is going to determine that is your circumstance, your situation. Have you saved money? Do you have good credit? Have you done enough research to find out where the free money is from grants and all that? It's there. Are you willing to do what it takes to get it, to do what needs to be done? All right. Okay, that's it. That is it, right? So today we were only, I know it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. Guys, there's enough of you here. I should have 11 new subscribers on my YouTube channel. Come on, guys. Seriously, I'm not asking for money, and they're not going to pay me for you to subscribe, but subscribe, because when you subscribe to my channel, you will hear the preaching of the word of God, and every so often I will come and give you the things that I've learned in business and in life, counsel, marriage counsel, all kinds of things. So subscribe. YouTube. If you're on YouTube, and if you're not on YouTube, you're watching me on Facebook or on Twitter, please go ahead and get to YouTube, search for my name, Steve Magua, subscribe. It will be helpful. Okay. Paul Ndivo says, these are the parting words. Hey, Pastor, thank you so much for this informative session. What would your advice be on the best way to train for driving the trucks? And do you require special training to drive a box truck? Okay, that's an excellent question. There are two kinds of licenses with which you can drive trucks. Okay? If you're going to drive the big trucks, semi trucks, 18 wheelers, you need a CDL license. And that's every country. Commercial driver's license. Obviously, for a commercial driver's license, you have to go to a commercial driving school. In whichever country you are in, they will train you. They will make sure that you can pass the examination and that you can back that thing up and do whatever it is that they do with them. I don't know how to drive a CDL, never had a CDL license. If you're going to drive a box truck or any kind of large truck, you just need a regular license. But if you've never driven one before, you will probably need somebody to teach you. Okay. Best thing to do is, if you know somebody that's already in the business, approach them and say, can I pay you to train me for a couple of days, go to an open field, get me to learn how to do it. Barring that, put on courage and boldness and buy your truck, or go and rent a truck. Here's what you do. It's very expensive, very risky. Go and rent a U-Haul truck, the big ones, the 26-foot ones. Go and rent one, because especially if you're in America and Europe, you can rent these big trucks with a regular license. That's how I learned how to drive the big trucks. Well, not quite true. When I was learning how to drive back in Africa, in Kenya, and if you're in Kenya watching me, don't get your driver's license using a small car. And when your children are about to get licenses, if you can, especially in Kenya, force them to get a license using a big truck. Right? Let them go when they go to driving school or driving instruction, let them use the big truck. Reason being, especially in America, when it's time to move from house to house, you are moving from this town to town, you need to move your stuff, and you are young, you don't have the money to pay somebody to move your stuff, you need to go and rent the U-Haul truck and load it with your stuff and drive to the next town. But if you didn't already know how to do that, it becomes very problematic. But if you already know how to drive a U-Haul truck, you already know how to drive a box truck. Right? Andrea says this. Thank you for this information. My son is looking into the trucking business. Andrea, for you, I will say this. Tell him to call me. Come to the house. You know me. We fellowship with each other. I don't know which one of your sons wants to do it. Tell him to come. Tell him to talk to me. They know me. We know each other, Andrea. So tell them to talk to me. We'll talk. I'll give them whatever they need. Okay? Andrea, and by the way, for the one who asked earlier, can a woman do this business? Look at what Andrea says. Andrea, and she's a minister of the gospel. She's a preacher of the gospel. She says, every time I move, I rent a 26-foot truck, not inch, but foot. I rent a 26-foot and I drive it myself. So, Andrea, you are already primed to drive in the box truck business. In fact, a box truck ultimately is easier than a 26-foot U-Haul because of the size and everything. Loading is easier and all that. Right? So the oldest, tell him, call me. I'll hook him up. I'll give him all the information. If he needs to ride with me for a minute so that he can see how it does, I might even let him drive it because I know he knows how to drive and all that. If he wants somebody else to drive for him, I still, offer him whatever I can. So we'll talk about that. All right. All right, guys. So anything else on trucks? Trucks only. Trucks, trucking business. So if you are in Africa, you want to get in the trucking business, the idea is pretty much the same. Okay. You will need to get financing. You will need to get authorization, proper authorization to drive that truck. It can be done. Okay. Depending on the level you enter it at, more investment, less investment. If you can do it yourself, even if for a month, 2 months, you'll be so much better off. Amen. All right, guys. Well, that was it. Thank you very much. You guys have been awesome, 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 awesome. And I appreciate every one of you. That's our outro music. Thank you so much. Subscribe, send questions, whatever the case may be. So have a good night and God bless you. May you be successful in everything you do. In Jesus' name, amen.